All right. Today we're diving into something pretty intense. It's a blueprint, really, for what our source calls the architecture of mass persuasion, a way to influence an entire population.
So, the source material we're looking at today asks that very question. And look, the answer it gives is incredibly detailed. The scary part? It argues these aren't just ideas on a whiteboard. They're plans that are already in motion.
And the whole thing is built around this core idea, the surveillance pipeline. Now, to really get how this machine is being put together today, we've got to rewind a bit and look at the original proof of concept. So let's go back to 2016. You've probably heard the name Cambridge Analytica. This is where it was proven for the first time, really, that you could actually build a machine to manipulate people on a massive scale. And that it worked.
It all started with data. A ton of data. We're talking about the Facebook profiles of 87 million people just scooped up. And for many of them, they had no idea it was happening. And these were not your average profiles. No way. They were beefed up with as many as 5,000 data points for every single person. This created these unbelievably detailed psychographic files. I mean, we're talking about mapping not just who you are, but your personality, your fears, what drives you.
But here's the part that really gets you. It only took 68 of your Facebook likes for them to predict your personality, your vulnerabilities, with shocking accuracy. Think about that. That's all it took to target ads with the precision of a surgeon.
Okay, so fast forward to today. The source we're looking at argues that the Cambridge Analytica model, well, it wasn't just a one-off thing. It became the blueprint, and now it's being used to build an industrial-scale machine that makes what happened in 2016 look like child's play.
So this machine, this pipeline, really has three main parts. You can see them here: collect, generate, and target. Simple, right? Let's break down exactly what each of these stages looks like right now, according to the source. First up, stage 1, collect. The source claims that a huge amount of U.S. government data on its citizens is being pulled together. We're talking records from the IRS, Social Security, Homeland Security, all fed into one giant searchable system. Next, stage 2, generate. This is a big one. The source points to May 2025 as a tipping point, the moment when, for the first time ever, there was more AI-generated content online than human-made content. Just think about that. It means the engine that creates these persuasive messages, it can now run 24/7 with almost no limits. And finally, stage 3, target. So where does all this AI-generated content go? It gets pushed out through a media ecosystem that, as you can see here, is owned by a very small handful of people. And the source makes a point of noting that these same individuals were reportedly all at the 2025 presidential inauguration. So as you can imagine, this whole setup isn't happening in a vacuum. It's kicked off a huge, high-stakes debate about what this new reality actually means for us. You've got two clear sides here. On one side are the architects, the builders of these systems. They say, hey, we're just creating tools for security, for making things run better. But on the other side, you have some really prominent critics saying, no, what you're actually building is a propaganda machine that eats away at the very foundations of democracy. And you can see the architect's worldview laid out pretty bluntly by Peter Thiel, the co-founder of Palantir. His take is that freedom and democracy just aren't compatible anymore. He's essentially arguing that you have to trade one for the other to get what he considers order and progress. Then you have Geoffrey Hinton, the godfather of AI, and he sees it completely differently. For him, the real danger is this. If you let democracy fail, the question of who or what steps in to fill that void becomes the most important question in all of human history. So what's the fuel for this whole machine? Well, a scholar named Shoshana Zuboff has a great term for it: behavioral surplus. Here's a way to think about it. Imagine you're driving your car. The car's job is to get you from A to B, but it also creates exhaust, right? A byproduct. In our digital lives, behavioral surplus is that exhaust. It's all the data we leave behind that isn't actually needed for the app or website to work. And that surplus, it gets collected, analyzed, and used to predict and even change what we do next. Okay, so that's the theory. But what does this pipeline actually do? What are the real-world threats it poses to a democratic system? Why does this matter so much? Well, the source points to 4 major system-level threats. The first is called the chilling effect. That's when people just start censoring themselves because they're afraid of the consequences.
The second is an epistemic fog, basically a world so flooded with AI content that you can't tell what's real and what's fake. Then there's anticipatory compliance. This one's subtle. It's when big institutions like the media or universities start censoring themselves just to stay on the good side of those in power. And the fourth one, voting against interest. This is Cambridge Analytica on steroids, using all that data to convince huge numbers of people to vote for things that might actually be against their own best interests. And you can really feel the sense of urgency in this AI safety clock. It's designed to measure how close we are to an AI-related catastrophe. Look at this. In just 18 months, that clock jumped 11 minutes closer to midnight. The source says a jump that fast is completely unprecedented.
But okay, it's not all doom and gloom. The story doesn't just stop with the threat. The source also makes a point to detail the pushback, the active resistance that's forming.
And that resistance is fighting on two main fronts. You've got the legal battle, with lawsuits using old-school privacy laws to challenge all this data collection. And then you have something called epistemic defense. It's a fancy term, but the idea is simple: public education. It's like an inoculation. If you show people how the manipulation tricks work ahead of time, they become much less effective.
And this brings us back to Geoffrey Hinton. He argues that the best defense against all of this isn't some new technology. It's us. It's people. People who actually understand what's happening, who can call it what it is, and who are willing to organize to do something about it. Which really brings us to the final and maybe most important question that our source material leaves us with. It makes a powerful claim that none of this is a prediction. It's a measurement of a system that's already here, already running. So the question for all of us is, what are we going to do with those measurements?